here with my good friend Steve-O. How are you tonight, Steve-O?
Well, good evening, Dan, but I think you've got some explaining to do, mate.
Yeah. Basically, tonight we were going to be joined by Davey FPL. We're having some technical issues at the moment. We're still trying to see if we can sort that out. So hopefully he can join us later on. But at the moment, obviously, he's not here. And Jason is in the chat. So it is myself and Steve-O for the moment, looking ahead to what will be a very action-packed game week 27 with some big games. We've had some questions from our community. Obviously, check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Elite FPL. But yeah, obviously, if you're in the chat, say hello. And we've had a very busy game week, busy couple of fixtures with lots of FA Cup action affecting game weeks to come. We're all fretting about our chip strategies. We're going to obviously cover that a little bit later on. And yeah, so how are you, Steve? How are you feeling coming up to game week 27?
Well, I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut to the chase, and I'm genuinely a bit gutted that Davey isn't here. I was really, really looking forward to him, but as you explained, due to technical issues, he isn't. So it's just going to be me and you, let's be honest here, just chatting about all things blank game week 27. And you know what? I think, to be completely honest with you, we may as well just cut straight to it, mate. What do you think?
Yeah, let's get into it. I mean, as I said, there's been some rumours that I want to join another podcast, and I've been the Mezzers. I haven't done a podcast for about 5 years, so let's get into it, my friend.
Right, yeah. So, in all seriousness, let's get started with our predictions, and we'll have our free-flowing chat. Now, the good thing is that I can monitor chat. So, as Dan said, if anybody has any contributions to tonight's podcast, please, by all means, I'll be able to happily read them out. Jason's going to be in the chat and everything. And, breaking news, Davey may be able to join us. He may be able to join us. You never know.
I mean, guys, you can tell we kind of, we've all said to make some sort of changes for this podcast. But, yeah, we're looking forward to discussing this game week ahead.
Yeah, so we'll just kick off with, it's a Friday night kickoff. 2 games straight away kicking us off. And, we're starting with Cardiff versus Watford, Dan. What do you think on this game?
You know what? All I've been thinking is about my mate De La Feu that I've had in for, it seems like so long I've had De La Feu in for now, and he's been getting 3 points here, 2 points there, chipping away, not really putting up any trees, but it's like I've got some money in the bank, so I'm like, should I take him out? But I'll get onto that a bit more later on. I think this will be a tight game, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Watford. 2-1
victory to Watford? Right, despite Cardiff's good home record?
Yeah, no, I know Cardiff are good at home and they've been having some good results recently, but Watford are a very strong team and doing well in the FA Cup as well, so that'll boost their confidence up. So, yeah, I've got a feeling that, unfortunately for Cardiff, sometimes they've got to lose at home. And I think it was 3-2 in the reverse fixture, wasn't it, when you had Firmino in and he kept a clean sheet for up to 70 minutes and Cardiff scored 2 late goals. So it will be a tight game.
Yeah, I mean, if people remember from my last podcast, I did the stupid thing of taking a -4, which I didn't need to do, and bringing in Bamba of Cardiff. He ain't gonna get a clean sheet against Watford, but I can see this being a tight game, and I'm going to go with 1-1. However, the next game, that's on Friday evening. I'm surprised it's on Friday evening, considering it's a local derby. West Ham versus Fulham. So, Dan, what do you think on this potentially goals galore game where people are genuinely thinking that maybe Felipe Anderson could do some damage?
Yeah, I mean, Felipe Anderson's been an interesting one, and West Ham have got a decent run of fixtures coming up, and London derby should be interesting. Fulham have got to start getting some wins on board. Anderson seemed to have a good record. He had that little purple patch earlier in the season, particularly against some of the weaker teams, and he was quite good at home. But he does can be a little bit inconsistent from time to time. So, yeah, it's a tough one to call. I'm going to go 2-2, actually. I'm going to go goals galore in this game. I think Fulham have got to start getting something. Ryan Babel's had some decent form of recent. So, yeah, I'm just going to go 2-2. What about you?
2. I can't. I don't think this game's going to live up to much, really. I believe that a lot of people are going to be falling on the bandwagon of Felipe Anderson, Arnautovic. He was the other player that plays for West Ham that's been doing well. I forget his name now. Mark Noble, Declan Rice, of course, the player that signed for England. All this talk. No one cares. No one cares about Declan Rice. The way people talk about Declan Rice, it's like he's a dog. He probably is. He probably is.
Won't get him into the FPL team, but he's a good signing for England, and that just feels like a really weird thing to say. But oh well.
But people actually are talking about fantasy football. It drives me up the wall what people think. But anyway, that aside, West Ham versus Fulham. I'm going to go with 2-1 to West Ham. Just. I really do not think that this is going to be that open a game at all, despite Fulham's terrible defensive record. But West Ham, I just don't think they're that great, and they just seem to have fallen off as of late. And yeah, I'm going to go just win here of 2-1. Now then, I know FPL Booner's in chat. I've just seen him, and he actually had a really good question for both Jason and Davey. And we'll come on to that later. But his team, Tottenham, are up against my boys, Burnley. Now then, this is not going to be the walkover that everybody seems to think, where they seem to think that Son's going to get a hat-trick. Everybody's banging on about Son, captaining. He's in form. Yes, he's in form. But the thing is that we have picked up some phenomenal form as of late. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Spurs are going to win this. Now, if you remember last season, Dan, when Spurs came to us, this was at our peak when we were doing really, really well. And I said at the time that our history suggested it's going to be a very, very tight game. That current form suggested a very tight game. What happened? Harry Kane turned up and got a hat-trick, which just blew everybody's minds. Is Son going to do the same? I really don't think so. I think it's going to be 1 or 2-0 to Spurs. I'm going to go 2-0 to Spurs. And I think it's going to be one of those where I think that Spurs will just edge this, and I think he will be taught a lesson. So, yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 to Spurs, Dan.
I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, so to speak, but I looked on BBC Football Sport yesterday, and Harry Kane could be back on Saturday. It's a maybe, it's a possibility, but yeah, BBC Sport were reporting yesterday that Harry Kane is a possibility that he could play on Saturday. I personally don't think Pochettino will risk him.
Really?
He might just play in the Champions League game because they've got a very good chance of progressing in that. So I think, yeah, I'm hoping for some good returns from Son. Hopefully he doesn't get booked, because he got booked in the game against Leicester last time out, so that was quite frustrating for me. I think Spurs will do the job, but Burnley have been strong at home. Tom Heaton's playing really well. That's one to look at for bonus points for a goalkeeper in form, but I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs.
2-1 Spurs. Okay, so the good news for everybody that's watching this is what shall we say? The YouTube sensation Dayvy FPL joins us. Can you hear us, Davey?
I think the more important question is, can you hear me?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
I just want to check. Is it clear? I just don't want it to be using my other microphone.
Everything sounds perfectly clear on my end. Can you hear him, Dan?
Yeah, I can hear you well, my friend.
Okay, sorry. I apologize for the delay. I just had some technical issues with Skype, but I'm here now. So sorry again.
Fantastic.
Good.
Well, for me, this is a bit of an honour. So this is Steve-O, Davey, and this is a bit of an honour. I feel like I'm interviewing a YouTube celebrity, if I'm honest with you, because me personally, have followed you since, this is on YouTube, since you broke through when you cleverly, and it is clever, decided to start putting your rank within your thumbnail.
Yeah. It was kind of when I started off doing it around 50k, but then once I got into the top 1000, I thought it's a good way of promoting the channel, I guess, and starting a little bit of a community around it.
Absolutely. I started watching your material, I believe it was something like when you were 153rd in the world, something like this.
Yeah, I think that was probably when I was at my peak in the rank.
So the first straight away question to you is, what made you do a YouTube channel?
I've kind of always enjoyed Fantasy Premier League, and then I didn't really watch many YouTubers the first season I played, but I watched them so I've played 3 seasons now. This is my 3rd season. And the first season I played, I didn't really watch anyone, but then the second season I took it a little bit more seriously, and then I started watching a few more YouTubers and everything, and I kind of thought that, hey, if maybe they're giving advice and that kind of thing, why can't I, and I think there's a lot of potential in the whole FPL YouTube scene. I mean, there's 6.5 million players, but then the most a YouTuber gets probably is, I think, maximum 100k views. So there's such exponential growth that can happen there. So I thought, when I started having a good season, I thought, let me just get into the whole YouTube scene. I've always been interested in YouTube, mainly from a gaming point of view. So I thought this was a great opportunity to kind of get involved. And obviously, I'm already spending so much time doing FPL and getting information that I might as well just add the whole YouTube thing to it and share my information and views.
So that kind of links me into this nice little question, which is, are you feeling the pressure of being not only on YouTube? That's probably quite easy, but the fact that the word exposure is a bit strong, but
I know what you're saying.
Team and everything to the world.
Yeah.
And yet you've taken a rank drop. Now that could be just pure coincidence, but do you feel the pressure of doing this now?
Well, I think it's firstly, I think from my point of view, I don't really feel the pressure from my team per se. I think where the pressure comes in is when you open yourself up for giving advice and everything, and then people kind of rely on you. So I'll get a lot of tweets and comments of what transfers should I make, or what do you think about this move? And I'm usually not the type. I don't really like to give a straight answer. So I would maybe try and give some more information to let the player decide. But obviously, you feel bad, say, if you told the player to captain Aubameyang and then they end up blanking per se or whatever. You feel that sense of responsibility, and it's a little bit more personal if you get to know people and they've followed your channel for a while. You kind of want to give them good advice, and unfortunately, I don't think I've given terrible advice. I think I've given quite good advice, and my viewers have kind of reached out to me and said, thank you for this call and whatever. But definitely that sense of pressure of when people give you their trust and you kind of are expected to perform with it. That's where the pressure falls in. But in terms of my own team, I haven't really felt the pressure. I've always played the game I want to play, and I haven't really made moves to please people per se on YouTube and that kind of thing. So, hope that answers the question.
Yeah, what I find really interesting is what do you personally classify yourself as a YouTube channel? So what I mean is, so our personal story is quite simply the fact that we're just three blokes that take a cash mini league very, very seriously, and we just thought, well, we did a private podcast in the Facebook group, and we thought, why not? We've got the technology to put it on YouTube. Let's just put it on YouTube. We've never, ever, ever once said that we're a tipster site. We're not. What do you classify yourself as, so to speak? Do you classify yourself a tipster, or just a bloke that just talks about his team, and it's just the fact that you're so high up in the world that people want to know what you're doing to help themselves?
Yeah. No, I definitely don't think and classify myself as a so-called expert, as some people on Twitter and that kind of thing are considered. As you said, I think it's just that I'm at such a high rank, and obviously I must be doing something right with my picks and whatever. So if people are interested in what I have to say, then so be it. But I don't think that I'm an expert per se. So I would just say I'm an average guy kind of playing fantasy, and I'm doing quite well in it. So that's why I think people like to watch me, and I try to offer advice here and there when I can.
What is your... You mentioned that you've played 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And what of those 3 seasons include... Okay, taking this season aside, your last 2 seasons, how did you do?
Okay. Can I link this question to kind of how I got into FPL? I don't know if that was a question coming up.
Yeah, you
okay.
That was the question I was going to ask, actually.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so as I said, I played 3 seasons. So the way I got into to Fantasy Premier League was I was in the orchestra for my high school. So we had a concert one day where it's all the 4 biggest high schools in my town. We all performed together as like a mass orchestra, and then each school would have their single play pieces and whatever. So I was once sitting with my friend. We were waiting for the other school to finish, and he was playing this Fantasy Premier League game on his phone. So I wondered what it was, and he joined it because of his church group. So he had joined a team, and at that stage it was Gameweek 8. So I started my first season after Gameweek 8, and then I joined. I found out that some of my friends also played, so I joined their league that they had, and I ended up winning the mini league, even though I only started in Gameweek 8. So I kind of realized that I had a little bit of interest in this, and I was a little bit good at it. So then I played the next season. I took it more seriously, and then I finished, I think it was 60K overall rank. And then obviously this season's my highest. And I think the first season was quite bad, but I'm not too mad about that one having started late. But I know that's not really that much of an excuse, but I give myself the leeway there.
Do you have any questions, Dan, for Davey?
I think the main question I watched your video on Friday about the chip strategy, and it was actually it was really helpful actually, because I've been quite stressed. Thank you. But the main question I'd have to ask you is, in terms of picking your team on a weekly basis to get more to you as a manager, is it a case of relying on the eye test? Is it a case of looking at stats or heat maps and things like that? What are the main tools that you use to make decisions?
Decisions. Okay. In South Africa, we luckily get every fixture, basically. I know in the UK, sometimes they don't show all of the games, but luckily we do get them. So obviously the eye test is quite a big thing. I don't really rely on the eye test that much because I love a player like Hazard per se, because his ball control and dribbling is so amazing. But then obviously that hasn't turned into many FPL points over the season. Well, at the start he did deliver, but towards the end he's kind of dropped off a little bit. But as I said, I'm a Liverpool fan. in my videos. I said so. Recently, we've had a couple of draws against teams like Leicester and that kind of thing. So when we played against them, they looked really good. So I guess that could be a little bit of an eye test, and one of the reasons I'm looking at those type of players. But mainly, what I look at is I look at predicted points almost, so a little bit of stats in there. And then a big thing I look at is the fixtures. I know form is important, but this season I've kind of been a little bit I've kind of favored the fixtures a little bit more this season. So that's what I look at, and then obviously stats as well. So, form's kind of linked to stats, though, So I guess you could add
it's all interlinked together, isn't it? Really?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
It was a good game for Liverpool last night as well. It was a bit unlucky not to.
It's a little bit boring, but I enjoyed the first half.
I find that answer quite interesting, Davey, because me personally, so obviously you're aware that Jason, our other co-host, he's 107th in the world.
Yes.
And yeah, he's doing absolutely extraordinary this season. And I've always been I'm not bitter. I'm just very miffed at the fact that everything that I personally seem to do, which is completely logical, seems to backfire. But for Jason, it seems to go for him. So for a simple example being that I would have Lindelof on the bench against Spurs, because I would never in a million years think that United would keep a clean sheet against Spurs. And lo and behold, that's what happened. Did I have a player that was not playing for then Lindelof to come on? No. However, the top players, like Jason, they seem to always get bench points off the bench because, for example, someone like, I don't know, Trent Alexander-Arnold, who was then doesn't play the match, and then all of a sudden he gets a player like Kika Femenia, who I've had the whole season. But in fact, I know you've got him as well. He then decides to bring all his points in, and then Jason seems to get that. So I suppose my question really is that I personally go on the form of a player rather than the fixtures. But do you think that's kind of where then I'm going wrong, and that I should be looking at fixtures more? For example, this whole debate about the blank game week 31 come out. Me personally, I don't care about it. I have no interest in it. I just think that the teams are atrocious. But everything banging on about Leicester, I just don't see who you would pick other than Pereira. But their fixtures are excellent. What do you think on that whole thing of form versus fixtures in general?
So the whole thing on form versus fixtures, I guess you always are going to pick a guy in form. So, for example, the one that's kind of been brought up this week is probably Son. He's been brought up for quite a while because he's had some insane form and he's really looking amazing. But then I guess you could look at to bring on with that blank game week. A lot of people are like looking to transfer him out as soon as the fixtures get a little bit harder. I know they play Arsenal then Chelsea, so you could look at that. But I know what you're saying. It kind of comes down to just throwing out your bait and just hoping that something bites, I guess. I tend to think that a team would probably be more favorable against a weaker opponent, so that's when I kind of think of more maybe the fixtures. But then the form can also be a great thing to consider. In terms of your decisions or whatever, as long as you have some logic behind them and you have some thoughts, and that I don't really think that you can be angry at yourself for that. So you said for the Lindelof example, that's kind of been my saving grace a little bit this season. If something went wrong, if it's what I want to do, then I won't get angry about it or angry at myself about it. But obviously in your case, I know that one of your mates is doing very well, so it's hard to kind of look at the bigger picture.
Well, what really rubs it in even more is that I'm having a really good season. This is the best season I've ever had. So I'm 6,000th in the world. And yet my co-host, whose usual, so my average rank, give or take, each season is about 40, 50,000, give or take. Jason is, give or take, about 200,000. And yet this season, when I'm having an absolute, what I feel like a rubbish season, actually I'm doing really well because I'm up against Jason, who's 107th in the world. Now, you're 325th, which is absolutely outstanding. When you were at your highest point of 153rd, did you ever think in your head, thinking, I could win this?
You see, this is what I wanted to add a little bit. It's very hard to win the Fantasy Premier League season, I believe. So, for example, when I was like 150th or whatever, 200th, I was still quite far off from the number one. I think this week was the first week that we've had a new number one for a couple of weeks. So my goal is not to win it per se, but I want to come first in South Africa. That's kind of my goal. I'm currently 5th, so I don't think that's too out of reach. Obviously, anything can happen, and I mean, it would be amazing to win it, but I'm just kind of trying to get as high as I can. I'm not really thinking about winning it. I'm trying to take small little leaps. Right now, I mean, a green arrow is amazing for me. That feels like winning. Just the green arrow every week, and hopefully get into the top 100 by the end of the season. So
that kindly links me into this question, which was sent in by a regular contributor, FPL Boona. And he unfortunately, Jason can't actually join us, but he is in the chat. So, Jason, if you can hear me, you can answer this in the chat to FPL Boona. But we'll ask you, Davey, it's the same question, which is this. What approaches are you going to be taking from now until the end of the season? Will it be a safety-first, ranked defensive kind of approach? Will you take a maverick but calculated approach? For example, I mean, I thought, like, for instance, Harvey Barnes of Leicester. It's kind of like what you were mentioning about statistics. He supposedly, his statistics are on his side. Or something else to approach the rest of this season?
Well, I'm kind of going to break it down to whatever transfers I make this week, because that's going to kind of decide what I do. So, do you want me to talk about the transfers now, or are you?
Well, you by all means, you can. We're gonna do a preview later on anyway.
Okay, cool.
But,
cool.
If you want to carry on, by all means.
Okay. So, what I'm looking to do is either bring in Son or bring in a West Ham attacker this week. So if I was to go to a West Ham attacker, I would consider that a maverick move, and a little bit of a differential and kind of swaying away, as Son is currently owned, I think, by a 60% in the top 10K and 1K. So for me, I was always thinking about Son because it's a safe bet. I'm covering if he does score, and he's a real rank killer at the moment. So that's, if I went Son, I would consider it a safe move, but I don't really know how to classify it because, as I said, I'm just playing the way I feel. I'm always a little bit of a more conservative player. I don't go out and take massive hits. So I would consider myself a little bit of a conservative type till the end of the season with a couple of differentials here and there. But that being said, I'm going to be using my chips, I think, wisely, so that should help. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be making up a lot of room in these double and blank game weeks coming up.
I'm just looking at your team on the screen at the moment. Who would you be getting rid of for Son, and how much money do you have in the bank? I'm just going to...
Yeah.
Would be awesome.
Okay, so I have, I think, about 1.5 in the bank. So I will be transferring out Edison, because he's got a blank, and even though Man City's fixtures are quite nice after the break, that double blank, I think they will qualify in the next FA Cup round, so don't think that's going to be a problem. So I think that Edison will be making his way out. I can transfer him out to a 5 mil keeper, and then I was thinking about upgrading Richarlison to Son or Felipe Anderson. And then the other move I could make, which I'm kind of favoring right now, is Kamara to Arnautovic if he is fit.
Yeah,
and then,
I completely agree. Arnautovic. We were just before you came on, we just went straight to our preview, and I did mention
yes,
being a good reference. But you mentioned chips. Well, we had a question in from FPL Bielsa, and he asks, how would you navigate these upcoming blank/double game weeks without a free hit? Would you wildcard? I suppose maybe a bit of a blank, I suppose he's asking. Yeah.
Look, I've had that question a lot on my channel as well. It's also for people. So this player obviously says he has his wild card. So that's not really a problem. That's good to have. That gives you a step up on those people that have used the wild card. But basically how I would approach it is use your free transfers to prepare for the double more than the blank. I don't think having 11 players for the blank is that necessary. What I would do is try and field about 9 players, and then the rest of the players that are on there, they should hopefully have a double. I know a lot of people don't really want to transfer out the players with value, so you can always keep them. And then kind of prepare for the double per se, because by preparing for the blank in 31, you almost preparing for the blank in 33 as well. So the likes of Leicester, as you mentioned, players, Liverpool players, it's a little bit difficult because their double game week fixtures not that great against Spurs. But players like the Chelsea lads, I know they're not in great form right now, but they play in both blanks, and then they have a double game week as well. Bournemouth are also looking good for their fixtures in the blanks. So you kind of just have to kind of navigate it and have a little bit of a plan. For those players that have the free hit, I guess we have more luxury of kind of taking it as it comes. But if you don't have that free hit chip, it's not the end of the world. As I've said, you can do a lot more moves to better your team. Then I would wildcard before you bench boost. So I guess you could bench boost in 32, but that blank sandwich doesn't make me confident in getting a full team for the bench boost.
We had a quite an interesting question from somebody called Body Coach Rob.
Yeah.
He asked who has the most favourable fixtures going into double game week 33. I think we can gloss over that, but this is the more interesting question, which is it better to use the triple captain outside of a double game week?
If you're going to ask in a perfect world, I would say no. I would always try and use my triple captain in a double game week. I just think that I think that for those guys like Jason that used it in the previous double game week, almost that strategy looks near perfect now. If you have all your chips to play and everything, because I think obviously we say that now that it's happened, so we couldn't have said that before, but that kind of looks like the strategy that's going to be the best all out. I don't really think that there's going to be a player in a single game week that we can predict. Obviously there might be a player from like Huddersfield, say, that scores a hat-trick suddenly, but I'm looking at maybe Salah versus Huddersfield. The interesting one is even Liverpool play Fulham soon, so that could also be a good chance to use it. And then I'm also looking at the mysterious Chelsea double that might occur. Since they didn't have that blank game week in 25, that fixture might be moved to somewhere later, so you could use it there. But I think most of us are going to use it in a single game week. Not terrible. I think anything above 10 points is probably acceptable for the triple captains. So you just got to kind of hope for that.
For anybody in the chat, if you have any questions for Davey, I'll be more than happy to read them out. So anything you want to ask Davey, by all means, ask away. But before you came on, Davey, what we always do is our predictions for the upcoming game week.
Yes.
Do you do any form of predicting yourself to help you with your decisions? So, for example, I personally look a hell of a lot of the history between the two teams, and it does help me decide. The most perfect example, actually, was Aguero. So a lot of people were getting rid of Aguero before the Chelsea game, and I kept banging on about the fact that his record versus Chelsea is phenomenal. Do not sell. Unfortunately, people they sold anyway, and we all know what happened.
Yeah.
But do you actually do any research into past history, or just looking at the upcoming game week and think, actually, these teams, I can actually see this being a high-scoring game?
Yeah. In terms of predictions, like you say, I don't know if you know what Super Brew is.
Yes.
Yes.
Before you continue there, Davey, at the very start of this particular podcast, I mentioned to all our viewers that the one thing that I've totally regretted is not entering myself and Dan into that, because I am telling you now, me and him would be winning that. Me and Dan are very, very good with our predictions, and I know for a fact that we'd be doing very, very well. But sorry to interrupt.
No worries. So I do play Super Brew. It's just me versus a friend because he's the only other player that does Super Brew. So it's a league we have called Dave versus Wes. I'm winning it at the moment. But I kind of think when you do predictions, you're always on the more conservative side. If you look at a lot of people that make money by betting, they always go for 1-0, 2-0, that kind of thing. And in the Prem this season, we've seen 6-0 and that kind of thing. So I do predictions. I don't really look at previous fixtures and previous encounters between them. What I will do is say I will look at the team that they are playing, and I will look at their last 6 fixtures usually, because a lot can happen before 6 fixtures. For example, say Burnley. Burnley at the start of the season weren't playing the greatest, as I think you'll know, Steve-O. I know that you support them. Is that right?
Yeah.
So
my God.
Yeah. So recently they've been a lot better defensively. So when I was looking at a player like Son, I was kind of looking and seeing if Burnley have improved defensively and that kind of thing. So I won't really look at previous encounters. Obviously, I'm not oblivious to records like Aguero versus Newcastle or that kind of thing, or like Liverpool versus Bournemouth. That's always quite a high-scoring affair. But I won't generally look for every single lineup and their previous encounters.
So we've had a question from Suman G. He says he doesn't have a wild card, but he has a free hit chip.
Yes.
What is the best possible plan ahead?
I would use it in a double game week. I think that strategy is perfect for the whole use your transfers for the blanks and then free hit in game week 32. I think that the free hit might even be better than having a wild card due to those blanks and doubles. So he doesn't really have anything to worry about. I would use it in game week 32 and then maybe use some transfers to prepare for the 35. The 35 double, maybe try and get rid of players that don't play that often, and then just bring in players that are cheap and will play in that double.
Now, there's been a comment made by Nick Lee, who simply says, am I the only one that's not concerned about the double game weeks? Now, I kind of know where he's coming from, because for me, I kind of play everything by ear. Now, obviously, for somebody that is doing so well this season, you need as much information as possible.
Yeah.
Planning ahead.
Yes.
By using, for instance, Twitter accounts like Ben Crellin, for example, who predicts all this correctly and stuff. Do you have any concerns about these double game weeks, or are you like me, where you just play it by ear and just go, well, for example, the Chelsea double game week potentially, I just look at it and go, they're brilliant fixtures. Let's just bring in Higuain and Hazard as an example. Or do you actually really have to look really that far ahead to get yourself set up?
Okay, so to answer your question about am I worried about the doubles, in terms of maybe the late announcement of them, maybe that thing, but I'm excited for the doubles. I'm fearing the blanks. That's how my take on it. But in terms of planning, I've had to try and do a lot of planning for the game week 31 to game week 33 in terms of transfers that I'm going to be bringing in and out, and kind of looking to see if I will have 11 players for the blanks and that kind of thing. I think I'm fortunate with the chips because it makes the planning a little bit easier. But I definitely think that you should be looking ahead. I think that that's going to separate the casual players from the more semi-pro type of fantasy players. And that's why so many people make up ground in the blanks and the doubles, because it's all about planning. For example, I have a league with my friends, and they will probably, I think a lot of them did the free it in game week 25 because they suddenly realized, oh wait, lots of my players aren't playing, but they weren't experienced to know that maybe late on in the season they could have used it.
Well, before you came on, like I said about predictions, myself and Dan, we'd already gone through 3 of the fixtures.
Okay, can you catch me up quickly?
Say that again, Davey.
Can you catch me up quickly? I'm actually interested to hear what you have to predict.
Yeah. So we for the Cardiff Watford game, I went with just a drab 1-1 draw. Dan went with a 2-1 victory to Cardiff. What are your thoughts on this game briefly?
That's a tough one to call. Shame. I think that Cardiff, they've been going through a lot of emotional stress recently. So I think they've been playing out of their minds for Emilio Sala. So it's a hard one to predict. I just think that Watford are going to be a little bit too strong for Cardiff. I'd probably go for like a 2-1 to Watford.
And well, you were talking about Arnautovic and Felipe Anderson.
Yes.
My thoughts are that this is going to be quite a close game again. I don't think it's going to be that open. I think people are going mental over West Ham, despite their form being pretty poor as of late.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah, I went with West Ham edging it 2-1, 2-0, something like that. Dan's gone with an open 2-2 result. What are your thoughts on the game?
I think Fulham are very bad defensively, and I think that West Ham are very inconsistent. So it's quite a hard one to predict. I personally would probably go for a 2-0 to West Ham. I don't know. I just feel like West Ham at home should be enough to hold off Fulham. I do like Fulham's attack. I just feel that sometimes they're a little bit disjointed. It might be because of their midfield or whatever, but I think that West Ham will just be too strong.
Yeah, I mean the next fixture was Burnley versus Spurs. You mentioned about bringing Son. Everybody's going on about potentially captaining him. Can I see him scoring against us? Yes. Can I see him getting what a lot of people seem to be going on about, like almost like getting a hat trick? The simple answer is no. I think personally Spurs will come out on top of this quite comfortably, so to speak. I've gone 2-0. Dan's gone 2-1. What are your thoughts?
I will go for a 1-0 and hope it's not Son. Look, I think that do you since you look at the fixtures and you're a Burnley fan, can you remember the previous encounters between Burnley and Spurs? Because I can always remember them as being quite close.
Yes, so the simple answer is that they're close, but what I prefix that with is that I don't want to repeat myself what everybody already heard, but as soon as you ask the question, out of respect to you, it's a simple case of this will bring back memories for yourself. So last year we were doing really, really well, as we all know, and Spurs came to us, and it was like I was saying, oh, it's going to be a really tight game and everything. And of course, Harry Kane goes and got a hat-trick.
Yes.
So really, in answer to your question, it should be a tight game, but I just think Tottenham are going to be too. It's going to be. Well, on to the next two. There's only 5 fixtures left.
Yeah,
Dan hasn't spoken for God knows how long. So him, he can speak about basically 2 of his former cities, which is Bournemouth up against Wolves. Dan, you can now speak.
Yeah. I was just listening to get some information to get back in that top 4, but no, I think it's Bournemouth. Bournemouth at home to Wolves. Wolves have been on a really good sort of run of form at the moment, and they got that late equaliser against Newcastle. That game seems like ages ago now. Bournemouth sort of up and down a little bit. I'm going to go, having said all that, I'm going to go 2-1 to Bournemouth. I think Wolves just will kind of, I was I had a trouble up on their assets for the Newcastle game. Jimenez, Doherty, Patricio, and I was so up for it. And then, of course, they concede and Jimenez does nothing. So, yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Bournemouth.
This is a tough one for me because, actually, no, it's not. I'm going to go with Wolves to win. I just think, what is it, Dan? Bournemouth have lost something like 9 or 10 games out of 12 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah, they started the season so well. I mean, I actually, in our season preview, predicted them to be one of the teams that could potentially go down or at least struggle. And then they had such a brilliant run of form. And then I think Wilson was out for some games as well. So they kind of lacked, particularly away to Cardiff, that game, they lacked a real cutting edge. And that's been a problem. And they obviously signed Solanke, but he's not really... I don't even know if Solanke's played, has he? I know he came from Liverpool in January.
He came with a substitute the other day, I think.
Yeah.
So, they seem to have struggled a bit. So I guess I'm going against the form a little bit. That at some point, now that Bournemouth are, they've got to get a win somewhere. What about you, Davey? What do you think the score will be in this?
I think that this one is going to be a 1-1.
Okay.
You know what? That is exactly what I haven't written that down, but I was very close to writing 1-1. I've actually gone for a Wolves victory 2-1. But do you find, Davey, that
yes,
actually it may be wise to bench Wolves' assets versus the weaker team, considering they don't seem to find it that easy versus the more poorer teams? It just seems to be the bigger.
So it's a hard one because I kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for Wolves players now. I'm sure most fantasy managers do. So I probably will always play them, to be honest. It's kind of a tough one as both teams have kind of dipped in form a little bit. I think it's Doherty that has that insane record in the FA Cup, and then he goes and plays a Prem. Yeah, goes and plays a Prem game and gets a yellow card, so that's fun. But yeah, so I think I always will play the Wolves players. I just think that mainly it's also due to me not having that great of a bench. So especially this week, I probably will have to play them with the blanks. But I'm looking to keep them. They've got quite a lot of value for me, so looking to keep them and just hoping that they kind of bounce back a little bit.
I mean, we've had Mick in chat mentioned Brooks. He was obviously he had quite a good run of form in the season as a differential midfielder, so that could be someone to monitor going forward for when the fixtures pick up a little bit.
But remember, Dan, he's injured, so he's out for he'll be out for at least another further 1 or 2 weeks. So really, it's But on to a less inspiring fixture, which is Newcastle versus Huddersfield. I can just see this being a 0-0, 1-0 either way. I'm going to go 1-0 to Newcastle but this is going to be drab. Dan?
It's funny you say that because Newcastle's next 2 games are quite favourable when a lot of people seem to be talking up Rondon, and I know he got the winner in the reverse fixture for Newcastle. And Huddersfield seemed to be kind of like, they played really well against us in the last game, but they seem to be kind of resigned to relegation. The fact that they've got a new manager, it just, they've tried really well and they did really well setting up last season. But, you know, it's a bit tempting for a little punt there, just as a differential budget striker option for somebody who does have the occasional purple patches of form. So, having said all that, I'm going to go 2-0 Newcastle.
2-0. What are your thoughts, Davey, on this? Especially the fact that Newcastle are a team that are actually going to be playing at a blank.
Yes. I was actually going to go for Dubravka as the keeper for Edison. I just think that the second blank kind of put me off a little bit, as I need a player that's going to definitely play in both blanks. So I'm liking Newcastle defensively. Attackingly, they're always a little bit weird. They don't really score that many goals. So I'm agreeing with you on the 1-0. I do think Huddersfield, shame. I think they are unfortunately going to go down, definitely. So I think they're just kind of preparing for life in the Championship next season.
Yeah, they've done well. We just had another comment in the chat, actually.
Yes.
Rondon scored in a friendly against CSKA Moscow. Obviously, Newcastle not in the FA Cup at the moment. So a little bit of form.
And there's that other new player. I think it's Almiron. Almiron. Yeah.
Yes.
He played a couple minutes there, so that's an interesting one.
Yeah, he did very well in the MLS, didn't he? So he could be.
Yes. Yeah.
And well, on to what seems to be the popular team of the month at the moment, which is Leicester versus Crystal Palace. All these people banging on about Leicester, I just don't see the point in getting on with their assets whatsoever. That's just me. I think they're going to lose this. I think Crystal Palace are going to win. I'm going to go with 2-1 to Crystal Palace.
So I did something that I've never done before in my FPL career. I actually made a transfer on a Sunday night. Seems like ages ago now. This is going back because I was unwell, Davey, before, so I didn't take part in the podcast. And
yes, I watched that one.
Yeah, so I was just watching it. And even though I still had Aguero in my team, I wasn't very pleased with my game. I got 6-7 points, so it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, and I just did the whole knee-jerk thing of getting Pereira in. And then the next morning, I woke up and I thought, I've got Schmeichel and Pereira, and I've got Patricio and Doherty, so I've doubled up on Wolves and Leicester defence. But I just wanted to share that anyway. But I
guess
think
you've made your transfer.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I don't think it's a bad one. I quite like Pereira, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, I took out Sterling to kind of free up some funds to upgrade my defence and my attack. And so let's go a really long-winded way around this. I'm going to predict Leicester to win because I've already put my faith in Leicester. And I'm going to go... Seems like Palace are concentrating on the FA Cup, so maybe just Leicester will take advantage of that. And I'm going to say 2-1 to Leicester. What do you think the score will be?
I'm going for a 1-1 here. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Crystal Palace are quite defensively sound. Leicester a little bit hit and miss. So I'm just going to play it safe with a 1-1, I think.
Now then, finally. Go on, Dan.
Sorry, there's a bit of a delay between the us talking. So what do you think about Maddison? That was one I was going to actually bring up.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people have been asking about him. Yeah. To be honest, I really don't know what's going on at Leicester. I mean, Maddison, I think he was benched 2 games ago, and then Vardy was also benched, and then they haven't been playing. So I don't know if maybe that's just a behavioural thing. But I did like Maddison at the start of the season. There was talks of him maybe signing for Liverpool before that injury. So when I saw him playing, I was like, hey, I think we've really missed a good player here. But he's kind of fallen off a little bit. I do like him. I think it's probably worth a punt for his price. I think he's around the similar price as Richarlison. So a lot of people are losing their patience with the Brazilian. So I think it's an easy switch to make. And I mean, he's got the fixtures to back him up. So hopefully he can do something.
Cool.
Yeah, so now on to finally something exciting to talk about.
Yes.
Which is the most popular, well, it was the assumption being the most popular transfer, which would have been Aguero to Aubameyang. However, he goes and gets ill. Everybody seems to go on panic mode and gets rid of Aubameyang, brings in Aguero, who isn't playing. I think, even though Dan will be able to tell us more, Arsenal's record versus Southampton actually isn't that great. I can just see Arsenal just sweeping Southampton aside here. And I'm going to go with a 3. They can't keep clean sheets, so I'm going to go 3-1 to Arsenal. And I'm telling you now, Aubameyang is going to get us what we all think he's going to do, which is a double-digit score. Dan, as the Arsenal fan, come on. What do you think?
It's not looking very good for it. I mean, we lost to last week. It's like Alexander Hleb's 37 and he's playing in a team that's beat us. This is embarrassing. We got to beat them tomorrow, so that's like a big game. I don't know. It's just a bit of a roller coaster ride at the moment. Because Lacazette got sent off in that game as well, didn't he? So will he start on Sunday? Obviously Aubameyang's going to have to play tomorrow, so that could factor in as well. Really, so that's quite an important thing to consider. Look, I'm gonna I'm just gonna say 2-1 to the Arsenal, and fingers crossed. I'm not feeling too confident.
As an Arsenal fan, though, surely you guys up against a weaker opposition at home.
We lost to them only a few months ago, if you remember, 3-2. Charlie Austin got
but
that.
That was the way. I'm talking about at the Emirates. The Emirates, your record at the Emirates versus anybody is excellent. Now, against the poorer opposition, you're even better. Surely you must have confidence in the fact that, people's dilemma is, do I captain Aubameyang or not? I will stand by this. I think he's the best captain option this weekend. Surely you must be confident enough to agree with that.
No. Not really. No. I know we've got an excellent record at home, but I'm just seeing it because I watch all the games and I see the amount of chances that we concede to Huddersfield. I see how we played terrible against Bate. It was just terrible. I still am not really over that game, and they've got to play tomorrow in what's a very important game now. And I'll tell you what, Davey, I watched in the Liverpool game last night. I was just thinking from a perspective. I was just thinking Liverpool were just, and Man City as well, just so far ahead of Arsenal. In terms of how quickly the players. I know it's a
Arsenal's. I was just laughing a little bit because Steve-O gave you his whole little motivation, and then Dan's just like, "No, I'm not confident." Arsenal's a weird one for me. I really do like Arsenal. Out of the top 6 teams, Arsenal is probably a team that I also like, mainly just because of the style they play. They're not really that defensive. And I mean, there was games like, I think it was the Spurs game where you guys tore them apart, and it was some of the best football you've watched. I back Arsenal to get a result tomorrow, and I back them to get a result on Sunday, so I don't think you have anything to worry about. I'll go for a 2-0 to Arsenal. I do think that Lacazette will get points, so that's my little swing.
Now, on to what is a ginormous game in the league this season, which is United versus Liverpool. And for people like myself, I've got 6 assets in this game, and this is so tough to call. I'm actually going to really sit on the fence here. I just have this gut feeling this is going to end up 0-0, and I am very, very tempted at captaining Robertson. I have to do my research. I need to kind of look into Liverpool's form versus the top teams away from home and all this malarkey, and then looking at what's happened between these two teams and stuff. And this is so tough to call. I'm going to go 0-0. I actually think, Dan, it's going to be 0-0. What do you think on this?
I've been just trying to look at my screen to see what time the game's on at. But yeah, anyway, I think. Oh man, I've watched both teams. Obviously, I watched United beat Chelsea 2-0, very comprehensive win in the cup, and I watched Liverpool last night. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. I'm going to go for 1-1 actually, and that wouldn't be a terrible result for Liverpool. But yeah, I mean, I've got Salah and still got Pogba and Rashford, and I think I'll be playing them all. To be fair.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to in a way. I mean, Davey, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I just want to let you know that Jason's just DM'd me and he said Liverpool's going to win 5-0. So he's getting his prediction out there. No, I'm joking, obviously. He can't defend himself, so it's fine. I honestly think that Liverpool's going to set out the same way that PSG did in the Champions League, with a pacier centre forward. They had Mbappe, and I think we're going to put Salah there. And obviously, this is a little bit biased as I am a Liverpool fan, but I think it'll be 2-1 to Liverpool. I think United will get their Pogba goal, so they'll be happy. But I think that Liverpool's just got more to lose, so I think they'll be putting it all out on the field on Sunday.
Well, that there beautifully links us in to our team selections for this week. And
yes,
yeah, obviously, Dayvy, you're obviously well known on YouTube for obviously your channel, of course, and you've obviously released your preview for this particular game week and your team selection. I mean, straight to it, mate. What is your captaincy thoughts as of now?
I'm honestly tempted by captaining Salah. I don't know. I just kind of feel that I'm honestly excited for the United Liverpool game. I think it's going to be a lot more open than it's previously been. Obviously, with Solskjaer there, he's playing more attackingly. So I'm really excited. I think there's going to be goals in it. So I think it's a good bet to just go safe with Salah. However, I probably won't play it like that. Whoever I bring in, whether it be Son, Anderson, or Arnautovic, I'll probably captain one of them, just as a little bit of a differential pick. Not Son per se, because I think he's going to be captained by a lot of people. But I do agree with you when you're saying that Aubameyang or Lacazette's the best captaincy option. I think that if you have them, you've got to captain them. Obviously, there's some outside picks. Maybe you could captain a guy like Robertson, as you said, but I don't know if I would do that. Obviously, Newcastle, you could go for them. Bournemouth or Wolves, there's also options there. I think there's a lot of options this week due to the Man United Liverpool game, and I'm looking forward to seeing who picks who.
Do you not think that Pogba, as it stands now, I didn't even realise this, I've actually got Pogba as my captain, simply because, number one, his home record is absolutely phenomenal. They seem to, when they play against higher opposition, Solskjaer, this is just my point of view, just seems to absorb the pressure and then just go, right, hit these teams on the break and then win the matches like so. I mean, we saw what happened at the Tottenham game versus Arsenal versus Chelsea in the FA Cup. I just, maybe Pogba could be actually, of that specific game, could be the best, because Salah's record versus the top six is actually not that good at all. And in fact, if anybody, Mane could be the one.
I must say that Mane has been looking better than Salah recently. And if you actually look at the stats, if you don't consider Son and Arsenal, if you just consider the Man United Liverpool game, Pogba's predicted to score the most goals or most points per FPL points in that game. So definitely, I think that it's one of those things where he's on an amazing form. He's playing really well. It's almost like Man United are built around him. I'd be a little bit more confident captaining him if Martial and Lingard were playing. I just think that with them out, and if Lukaku plays and a player like Sanchez will start, I don't know if I would captain him that much. I think he will drop a little bit deeper then. But as you said, he's on amazing form, so I wouldn't be put off captaining him.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my team, and like you said, what I can choose from is basically the United game, because I'm not willing. Again, here's a question for you. How does psychology play on your brain when it comes to, for example, early fixtures? So the reason why I wouldn't captain Son is because he's playing at 12:30. But if he was playing at 4:30 against Burnley, I'd actually be tempted with him. Does like silly psychology things like, does that play into your mind occasionally?
It came into my mind once or twice, but only because it was kind of tipping me over the edge of someone who I was already going to captain. So it's almost like one of those things you kind of look for every negative to kind of sway you. The interesting one is that West Ham play on Friday, so that's also a little bit of a bad one. I'm actually playing a soccer game on Friday night, so I will be missing the lineups announcements and the game. So hopefully you don't come back and having captained a West Ham player see a 0-0 at the end of the game. So I know what you're saying about the whole psychology thing. I just think that it's not going to impact the player that much. Maybe if it's a really tough game, like maybe the Burnley Spurs game, but other than that, I don't really think so.
There's obviously, again, for anybody in chat that doesn't know Dayvy, which I'd be shocked at, he has already done various videos on the upcoming blank weeks and double game weeks, and please check his stuff out because it is very, very good material. But I'm just looking at the blank game week 31 fixture. Are you planning on bringing in any of these players per se, i.e. Bournemouth players, Newcastle, Huddersfield, Fulham? I mean, for me, the simple answer is no.
We've lost Davey, unfortunately. I'm not too sure what's happened there. That's very unfortunate. There's some sort of technical difficulties there. So should we look at it just I don't know what it did. It brought me to a thanks for downloading page. I mean,
in terms of I remember the question, I heard it. I'm looking at bringing in a Bournemouth defender. Maybe they have some nice. They have a nice run of fixtures. A little bit on it. Obviously, it will be a wing back. So I'm thinking about Klein. I'm looking at Klein, and then I'm looking at a centre forward. It probably will be King unless Wilson comes back and he's revving to go and scoring a lot. Mainly because of just downgrading Rashford, and that gives me a nice outlet to upgrade other players. So in terms of the transfers, it's probably going to be maybe 2 Bournemouth players. I would only kind of consider Pereira, so from Leicester. So that's probably the only player I'd want. And then the others is going to be probably Chelsea players.
So when would you consider bringing in these Bournemouth assets? Because I'm just looking at their fixtures now. They've got Wolves next. We're not going to be bringing them in then, but Arsenal away, Man City at home. I suppose I'm guessing it would be the Huddersfield away in game week 30, and then obviously into game week 31 versus Newcastle.
Yeah, it's gonna be the game week that Man United play Arsenal. I know it's sorry Dan, but it's not the best fixture maybe to transfer out before, but it kind of just gives me an excuse because I can't just bank the transfers till the time before the blank, so I have to make them one at a time. So it will probably be, I think it's game week 30 that Arsenal play Man U. Yeah. So I'll be transferring him. I'll be transferring him out then, and then Klein will just be a transfer for bench fodder for the first little bit, and then I'll play him during the blanks. So that can be done anytime. Probably will be for Kiko Femenia.
Wow, yeah, that's when you listen to what you're saying, it all just makes logical sense. It's just I look at this blank game week, and the only team that just stands out for me is Chelsea. If anybody, I just look at these poorer teams, and their points come from anywhere. I mean, the only another team, maybe West Ham. Arnautovic is another player that I'd be considering, but Felipe Anderson just gone completely off the radar. I think that Arnautovic is the main man when he's available to play.
Yeah,
it's a tough one, and here's a question for you. Do you think that this blank game week could be a definer for the season, or do you think that you could just write it off and not worry about it, like I am basically?
I think you can. Look, I think the big performers are probably just going to be the Liverpool boys. They have Fulham, and everyone has a lot of Liverpool players. So, in terms of that, I don't think it's going to be that massive. So that's why I said I don't think it's a big thing having 11 players starting. I think you can get away with 9 or less than that even.
So Dan, moving on to your team, mate. So you said you've done already one transfer, bringing in Pereira. Who did you bring Pereira in for? Sorry.
Brought him in for Rico, actually. I'm trying to remember now because it feels like such a long time ago. Yeah.
Who are you captaining then?
Do you know what? It's like you said, because of that Man United Liverpool game. It is a tricky one this game week. I'm tempted to bring in either Anderson or Madison as another transfer as well. So
they're going to hit again.
Do you know? Yeah. Got to take some hits. So I think it will pay off in the long run before everyone else kind of jumps on the bandwagon with Anderson. So I'm saying in my head, I'm saying Jimenez, and I don't know why. When you have, I don't know, Dave, if you have this, just that gut instinct sometimes. I'm thinking of all the rational thoughts in my head as to who I should pick and logic and hope. For some reason, I've just got Jimenez. So you gotta
go for it then.
Well, yeah. I mean, my situation, Dave. Obviously, Steve-O and Jason are sort of riding the crest high near the top of our mini league. I'm having a decent. I'm in 6th on mini league. I'm in the top 10k in the world. I'm having a good season, generally speaking. But it's to that point. I'm sure you can relate to this with your mini leagues where everyone's got like a sort of template team.
Yes,
and then when these double game weeks come up and all these these sort of blank game weeks, that's when everyone starts to panic a bit. And got a chance to catch people up a little bit. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. I've got got my free hit, I've got my wild card, I've got my bench boost, treble captain. So I feel quite excited for these game weeks because there is if you can execute a strategy well, there is a chance to at least put the pressure on. As Tottenham like to say, put the pressure on. So,
a little dig there.
I always get in the dig at Tottenham during our podcast.
No, it's the most exciting time of the season, so you have to enjoy it.
It's unpredictable as well, isn't it? When you're just trying to figure it all out. But I'm kind of, as I said before, I took out Sterling, I got in Son and Pogba, and that freed up some money. So I wanted to upgrade my defence, and I got Pereira in, which I'm quite happy with, considering the fixtures and the fact that my defence was really been going on this budget defence with like Bednarak and
I know what you're saying.
I always love my budget defence, but it kind of bit me in the arse the last game week because my defence, I didn't get very good returns whatsoever. So him maybe Pogba could. Do you know what? I'm saying all these kind of left field captain choice. I'm just thinking Son because of the form. What do you think of Son, guys?
Yeah, look, if you have Son, I think you just go for him. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
This is in Tottenham, and then I'm like, oh, Son that's what FPL does to you. Like 1 minute,
No, literally. It was one of the tips I said for having a good season is you can't really be biased. I mean, I don't like Man United, but as soon as their assets came into form, you got to get them. And it's the same thing with most fans. I mean, everyone will tune Salah or whatever, but if you look at their fantasy teams, he's there and he's their captain. So it's quite a weird one.
So going completely full circle with this fantastic special edition podcast with yourself, you mentioned that there's a lot of opportunity with YouTube channels moving forward regarding people's certain ranks, etc., etc. And we all know that the reason why, let's be honest about things here, the reason why people watch you is because you're doing so well this season that people want to know, well, what's David doing? They can help me. And it's the same for our podcast. The second we will, we've started advertising the fact that Jason's 107th in the world, and people are like tuning in thinking, where's Jason? We need his tips. To conclude this special edition podcast with yourself, what one piece, well, not necessarily one piece, but what pieces of advice would you give anybody watching this to do quote unquote well at this game, or for Dan's situation to improve their rank, not necessarily dramatically, but certainly improve it to where they can then feel good about themselves?
Yeah.
Please help.
Well, to be honest, if you're in the top 10K, you are doing well. Do you know what I'm saying? It's very hard to give advice for a person that's in the top 10K to finish in the top like 1K.
Yeah, it's hard.
So basically, the piece of advice that I would give someone if they were currently trying to gain ranks is, it's the time of the season now that you've kind of got to go for those differentials. Look, I mean, you might fall, but it's high risk, high reward. So in terms of captains options, don't go completely like rogue and start captaining goalkeepers, or if Salah's playing Fulham, don't captain him. But like you got to kind of maybe look at your team. Advice for mini league people that want to catch up in their mini leagues, you got to look at the other guys in your teams, and you've got to kind of keep the big hitters that you know are going to score, but then you got to get those differentials in. It's usually easy to predict if someone's going to captain someone. You can just look at their game week history. In terms of people who generally aren't performing that well and want to do better, you just have to just got to pay attention to the fantasy community, I'd say. I think a lot of people, if something that they credit doing well was just staying active, listening to injury news, paying attention to people like maybe Ben Krellin for double game weeks and blank game weeks, looking at stats, you basically almost have to develop a little bit of an addiction to fantasy. It's something that I know is unhealthy. Today I was busy plotting transfer plans in my university textbooks, so I'm not just don't do what I do. And you just got to kind of just be very interested in it. I'd say there's that old saying with, if you put the hours in, you're probably going to get something out of it. Fantasy can sometimes be cruel in that way, but usually you'll be a lot better off than if you were just making picks of what you watch on TV and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's a lot more satisfaction doing all the hard work and getting the results as well.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a personal thing because it's your team and everything. So at the end of the day, you got to do what you think is good, and over time you'll develop the mindset and the kind of thinking that a good FPL player develops. You know.
Definitely. Cool. Okay. Is there any other questions in chat at all? I don't know. I haven't been monitoring the chat. I've been squinting at my PlayStation 3.
To be honest, Dayvy will I've forgotten the word now. Will know. Attest to is that most people, as you've kind of answered, are just looking for help. They're just looking for any way to help move up the ranking system. And just one quick question, Davey, before we finally go, is that when you start the FPL season, you mentioned earlier about coming number one in South Africa overall mini. Do you also take any other mini leagues seriously? Do you participate in mini leagues like myself and Jason do, or is it just a simple case of I just want to play the game and just see how far I can get into South Africa?
Okay, so I have a large group of friends that watch football and play football, and it's kind of the main sport. It's very similar to the UK. A lot of people watch here. Mainly, we don't watch that much local sport, but we'll watch the Premier League and that kind of thing. So that league I take pretty seriously, but I'm currently leading it by like 300 points. So I'm not taking that one too seriously anymore. And I actually want to start a cash mini league, but I'm quite worried that no one's going to join next season. So I would probably take that a little seriously as well.
Yeah, I don't think you are part of our elite FPL mini league.
No, I was going to join, but I thought it would be a little bit unfair to the players that have been in from the start if I suddenly just join and then I'm like go up or whatever.
This is the irony, is that I don't even think you'd be first. Well, you definitely wouldn't be first, because Jason, I think you'd be third in our mini league. It's crazy. It's our mini league just exploded with top players, and there was one lad that was in our mini league. I mean, I forget his name, I'm sorry, but he dropped from I think he was 700th in the world, and he's now down to about 50,000. It's cruel. It can, like you said, it can be a cruel game.
Yeah, it can.
Definitely.
There we are, Dan.
Yeah, so it's been a pleasure having you on, Davey. Thanks for joining us. Really enjoyed talking to you and getting to know more about your channel and getting to know more about you as a person and as an FPL manager, really. And thanks to everybody that's watched us live. If you're watching us on the replay, as ever, please do subscribe to our channel, and you can also connect with us on Instagram and Twitter, Elite FPL. And that's pretty much it, really. So once again, thanks for joining us, and obviously any comments, any feedback on the podcast, please do let us know, and obviously have a look at Davy's channel as well, Davey FPL, and check out his regular content. So thanks for joining us, Davey.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly jump in here, guys. I've been behind the scenes listening in. I've been listening to the podcast as well as looking after a 19-month-old daughter. But it's an absolute privilege to have someone like Davey in with us to listen to his thoughts, give advice, and another great showing from our weekly chat that keep coming back, which is always great. We're almost on 300 subs now. But thank you, massive thank you, Davey, for coming on. I know you had a little bit of a hiccup with Skype. It seems to be a common thing. Skype isn't the best application for video calling. But anyway, that's just me. I just wanted to quickly say thank you.
Thanks.
And hope to see you on again in the future.
Yeah. No, I just want to say thanks for having me on. I apologize again for the technical blip. That's on me. So sorry that I wasn't here for the start. But I've really enjoyed talking to you guys, and I think it's been quite a good episode.
Thank you.
It's been awesome. It's been awesome. So enjoy your football, and
thank you.
See you all again soon. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.